A very warm good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Dr. Meena Devi Singh, on behalf of NIT Pharmacy Institute, welcomes you all for the second scientific session of fourth day online AICTE sponsored Atal Activity on the theme of design thinking, a patient-centric approach in healthcare industry. Today, we have with us an eminent keynote speaker, Dr. Zeenat Iqbal Ma'am, Associate Professor, School of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Jamia Hamdard, New Delhi. Before inviting Ma'am, I would like to introduce her to all. Dr. Zeenat Iqbal Ma'am, presently working as Associate Professor in Department of Pharmaceutics, School of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Jamia Hamdard, New Delhi. She is a postgraduate and doctorate in pharmaceutics from Jamia Hamdard and a proactive member of the teaching fraternity with penchant for quality education and research. She is the editorial board member for many journals and serve as a member of various associations. Apart from being an author for many books, she is an active research supervisor with H index of 33, 184 research publication and 12 books, amongst which two are designed especially for the vaginal drug delivery system. She has guided 7 PhD and currently guiding 5 students. Among these, 4 have received ICMR fellowship and one is a Silver Jubilee DST course grant awardee. She has organized around 25 workshops, conferences, and has been invited for around 7 oral and scientific presentations. She has guided 24 MPharm theses, MPharm research involving her students in the area of infection has attracted third prize in National Invention 2017 and second prize in Journal Invention 2018. The grant from the AICTE as principal investigator produced a PhD with 6 international publications. Also, the other grant from BST DBT as co-PI resulted in high-class publications. The three research verticals of the PI are nanopotentiated drug delivery system targeted as tumor, female reproductive tract infection, and nanodentistry tool designing, including polymeric nanocarrier. The research work collaborators include Dr. A.K. Panda's lab at NII Microbiology Lab at HIMSR and Dr. Nikhat Manzoor, School of Bioscience, JMI, an able organizer of both scientific and non-scientific programs and a major contributor to the university corporate life. She catered special interest in students-centric co-curriculum activities. With this brief introduction, I would like to invite Dr. Jeanette Ma'am for delivering her lecture on the theme of pharmaceutical perspectives and the prospects from the pupil for the pupil. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thanks, Dr. Veena. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very, very good morning. Rather, it's good afternoon now. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to join in for another session. I was here a few weeks back in another of your Atal FTP. That was a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for giving me this very challenging topic, which primarily is not a domain of a pharmaceutics person. I have tried my best that I would do justice to this very, very interesting field. And I must sort of congratulate your organizers team that you have really picked up a theme which is something which has to be really taken seriously. This is a theme which will be the futuristic theme of all the research, has to be, and if by any chance we are not able to align ourselves, we will be at loss. So I must congratulate for the wonderful team and the wonderful themes which you have been taking up. I was going through the brochure and I must appreciate the selection of the speakers is really great. Thanks so much. Before I start, let me just request you to allow me to share my screen. And
Okay.
if it is visible, please indicate that to me. If it is
Okay.
visible, you please indicate that to me. Am I screen visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I've put it on the whole this slide view, and the topic I've picked up the two words design thinking from your theme, and I would try to take it through the annals of pharmaceutical perspectives and look forward to what are its prospects. And I've tried my best to link the research which we are doing with this concept of design thinking. And of course, the fag end of the topic is that it is from the people for the people. That's primarily what the whole concept of design thinking is all about. I trust there would be many MPharm students and new researchers, and I'm sure that they must be intrigued to understand this topic for the last couple of days. And I'm sure that you would get a new perspective as I unravel my presentation. Thank you so much for all the cooperation. I would be very happy if somebody indicates to me, is my voice clear? Am I audible to all of you? And can I proceed?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm sure that by now, when it is a third or the fourth day of your FDP, you must have taken very seriously and must have understood what this design thinking is all about. Definitely, before I go into the areas of research in pharmaceutics and try to amalgamate this with the concept of design thinking, I would take a couple of few slides, or rather a few slides, and which would help us have a base, and then we amalgamate or then we usher into what the perspectives in pharmaceutical research are. By now, you must have been able to appreciate that design thinking is not a stand-alone procedure. It is a blend of qualitative as well as quantitative thinking. It is primarily focused on a very positive change, and the goal is to get something which is the best possible for the consumers. It usually revolves around the visualization of the future alternatives and looking forward to what the future holds in terms of a patient-centric response of the pharmaceutical industry. I'm sorry, just a minute, please. I always connect this to the concept which we were told as students, the concept of the magic bullet. When we were taught this concept of magic bullet, we were mesmerized. Our teacher indicated to us that there would be no day further from now, a few decades down the line, and you would have a drug delivery device or a pharmaceutical product which would be exactly what the patient desires, which would be taking care of the disease like a arrow hitting that particular site. And that is exactly what primarily I think is the driver of this whole concept of design thinking, because we want to inch by inch getting closer to the magic bullet concept of at that point of time Paul Ehrlich's magic bullet. So in this case, what primarily has to be the focus that whatever we do, we have to go in for a procedure which will result in reduction of the unintended consequences. We do not want the spillage of the drug. We do not want the drug to go to offsites. We want it to go to the site specific region, spatiotemporal in a manner, and then we want that it will take care of the patient's requirements and then do the job. So that's exactly, so the point, if I may just clarify here, is that if right from the beginning, I have to bear one thing in mind as a research scientist, that I have to take into confidence the patient who is the sufferer and then do whatever I can do in order to reduce and mitigate that suffering and make that patient comfortable, because it is that patient who is living with that disease. My research is also only going to be accepted by him if that research is answering his problem or mitigating or alleviating its pain. So kindly bear these small snippets in your hand as we proceed to understand better one after the other as the slide comes up. So normally it is not a standalone concept. It will help the institutions, it will help the culture to evolve, and finally it will result in a blending continuity and change. There will be a lot of things which will happen. There will be a requirement of a lot of communication between the stakeholders, and ultimately it will definitely lead to profit for the organization. So in a nutshell, it cannot be a stand-alone procedure. It has to be inherently interdisciplinary. And as somebody said, it is absolutely apt that design thinking comes from the customer for the customer. So it is thinking, it is for the people and from the people. So one has to bear this sort of snippet in mind as we try to unravel this very, very interesting topic. So we usually, it's a very simple thing. I think every time, everyone, when you discuss research or you are discussing politics or you are talking about some things which is happening in your institute and you feel like changing it. So we usually ask this question. We ask, what can we do to change things? So this is a very, very logical question. And the question is, if it is asked in context with a pharmaceutical product or in context with a patient who is suffering from a disease and in context with the pharmaceutical solutions which are being offered. So what exactly the answer would be, this question will primarily lead us to design, which is the act of changing the existing situations into the preferred one. आपने सवाल तो पूछ लिया कि हम कहाँ चेंज कर सकते हैं, हम क्या चेंज कर सकते हैं। जवाब उसका उसी के अंदर निहित है कि आपको कुछ ऐसी सोच पैदा करनी है कि यू आर गोइंग टू एक्चुअली एक्ट, डू समथिंग, do an act to change the existing situation, and जो existing situation है किस तरह से change करना into the preferred one. So here the preference is of the patient, that what can I do to design a drug delivery system or anything for that matter which is going to impact the life of a patient positively, and that is preferred by the patient, so that his or her life becomes much easier and the quality of life gets highly accentuated in a positive direction. So in order to actually reach this question and then answer this question, there has to be a little bit of understanding that what exactly this concept of thinking is. As I'm talking, I'm thinking. As you are listening, you are thinking. So Allah has been very kind to us to give us this cognitive sense where we are continuously using the brain cells and trying to find out answers to one question, which could be personal, another question, which could be professional, and everything is like going haywire in the brain right away. So we are at one time not thinking one thing. We are thinking of the time management. We are thinking of the research which is awaiting us. We are thinking of so many things which are to be put in place. So and we are thinking of writing an exam and getting a text and whatever. So you can see, and this cartoon primarily is helping us to understand that there's a continuous gamut of ideas which are traveling to and fro, to and fro. So what type of thinking, and out of these thinkings, many thinking or many processes would be useless. They are not leading us to anywhere. So in order to have a sort of what we call as an impacted or impactful thinking, we need to understand what are the two varieties of thinking. So we usually have a concept of a convergent thinking and a concept of a divergent thinking. So when I talk of the word divergent, it is a simple English word which it clarifies itself. It is actually a concept where I am allowed to think in many directions. So I am given a problem and I am left open. So please think over it in whatever way you want to do. So there's a problem that the drug has to be given 5 times a day. What can be done? So I come with a thinking process. Okay, can we go in for a depot making? Can we go in for a sustained and a controlled release formulation? Can we have a tablet in a tablet concept which will just be consumed once and then maybe it will keep on releasing after every 2 hours? Can I go in for a chronotherapeutic thing? So there's so many ideas where in every direction my brain will work. So I am allowed to produce alternate solutions that may come to my mind as a thinker. So that type of thinking, which is not very focused, but I am allowed to freely move in and around a flow of directions, that will be referred to as a divergent thinking. On the other hand, when a convergent thinking has to be thought over, it is actually going through all the possible solution which I have collected during the divergent thinking so that I can reach to a possible solution. So I'm converging all my ideas into one focused direction so that I reach the solution which is the best in the manner in from the gamut of the other solutions which I had just thought over. So we usually have primarily the first will be the concept of the divergent thinking, and that would be then made into a convergent thinking. So as we go in for the thinking process, okay, now I am converging all my ideas and I am primarily looking forward to a focused discussion on this thought process or this flow line of my thoughts. So there has to be, again, to be understood that there are various stages of design thinking. You cannot train your mind like this, that okay, one fine day you wake up and you are having a meeting of 4 people and suddenly you are having the best possible solution on your table. No, it doesn't work that way. So it has to be sequentially obtained. So there will be a concept, there will be a stage wise manner in which the design thinking will come into existence. So these are some of the ways, or these are some of the flow lines that we have to first look forward to what empathy is, then define that idea, define that problem, or ideate about it, create a prototype of it, and then go in for testing. So let us take one by one. So until and unless I understand all these terminologies, I will not be in a position to actually reach to the concept of design thinking. So let us try together that what all these terminologies mean to us. So when we talk of empathy, I think empathy and sympathy, and they are usually confused. So when I talk of the word sympathy, it's simply out of feeling sorry for others. But when we use the word empathy, empathy is primarily a process by which you are listening to the other persons, understanding them, and communicating to them that you have understood them. In a simple language, empathizing with the patient would be a situation wherein you yourself consider and put yourself in his or her place, into his or her shoes, and try to see, as a cancer patient, as a migraine patient, as a diabetic patient, that what could go wrong with them, what could be the situations which will make them uncomfortable. So this actually is the discovery phase to get to into the real needs of that patient. It will be a very pivotal pillar to help you design a best solution, because you are feeling the same what the patient usually feels. So you will observe, you will monitor, and then you will empathize with users to understand their expectations, their feelings, pain, and points. So the basic tenet of design thinking is that first, please kindly understand somebody's problem. If there is a cancer patient and he tells you that immediately when I am undergoing chemotherapy, sir, I start having nausea, and that nausea is so bad that I am not able to eat for the next 24 hours. He might tell you that because of this falling hair, because of the usage of an anti-cancer drug, I trust and I think that my husband is losing interest in me, and maybe I am not able to sort of give him that type of support which is required. So if you think that these two things which I have mentioned are useless to be knowing to a doctor or a researcher, then my dear students and the faculty who is here, we are totally wrong. So one has to be very clear about the understanding about the patient's problems, how he suffers, what are the things. I am married to a doctor, and usually when we are discussing all these things, so in a very lighter vein, he always tells that doctor's life is very tough. And I ask him why. So he says, and particularly when you are dealing with rural patients who are not very articulate in primarily putting up their problems on the table. So he will very jokingly say that one patient arrives in my cabin and he says कि सर जी मेरे तो सिर में 2 दिन से घूं 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 हो रही है. Then he will say कि मैं जब खाने बैठता हूँ तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि मेरे हलक से कुछ नीचे नहीं उतर रहा है और ऐसे ठक 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 जैसा महसूस होता है. And then they will use n number of words, n number of things which we as educated people might not even have heard of. So they will use their own language, they will use their own ways of articulating it, which could be more of the body language, less of the words. So the trainer, the person who is listening listening to them, be it a doctor, be it a pharmaceutical scientist, be it a researcher, they have to have that empathy and try to understand from the various body languages and the words which they are used at what exactly that patient is feeling. So that's what we call empathy, and that's primarily the first step towards design thinking. Empathy is primarily, I've just mentioned that it is actually a huge collection of ideas and get to know that what the point of view the other person has, what is, you have to assume a beginner's mindset that I did not know about this problem, as if this problem is coming to me for the first time. I have to really engage with extreme users. Some people will be too like sort of miser with words, and some people will be telling their problem with so many elaboration. So I have to engage both these extreme type of customers or patients or users. I have to very patiently ask what, how, why. I will have to build trust and respect so that they will share the most of the in detail and in-depth problems which they are facing. Then I should have that capacity of sharing a story and capturing them. I must have that reflective listening with me. And as I was just telling you, I should be able to use non-verbal ways of communication. So the doctors primarily who talk to their patients well, who are able to understand. So I'll give you an example here. So when you will be in a clinic of a doctor, and there's this gentleman coming up, an old person, and is limping on his left foot. So our doctor's sense is developed in a manner that as and when he walks through the door up to his chair, he will have a very quick observation, and he sees what is happening. The moment the patient comes to him closer down, he will say कि बाबा बैठ जाइए. अरे आपके उल्टे पैर में तकलीफ है. अच्छा, आप जब चल रहे थे तो थोड़ा दिक्कत हो रही थी, आप इधर उधर गिर जाते हो चलते वक्त, मुझे लग रहा है आपको झटके जैसा लगता है. Viola, the wonderful job has been done. The patient is absolutely mesmerized because he is keeping you in such a high esteem because you have been able to judge his problem without even asking. So this is one precise reason why the doctors who are talking well to the patient are the most popular and become famous and famous and famous. So this exactly is primarily something which has to be deeply understood by us as researchers. So we are not in direct contact with them, but we should have communications with them and get to know through their doctors or a team of doctors and patients together, and try to be as empathetic as possible. I would not primarily be I'm in a meeting. हम थोड़ी देर से बात करेंगे सर आपसे. जी जी. So when we are talking about all these things, we are actually thinking and making a concept of empathy. You can see that this concept of empathy is one which is leading the world. And can you imagine that this has become a mainstay of design thinking for making newer and newer formulation and newer pharmaceutical products? How important this empathy is for all of us. So I see the world. We are appreciating the human beings, and we are communicating to understand. So as we move further, the next step of design thinking would be to define. So we need to define. This define stage is all about bringing clarity on what you have learned from your user. So need to find the point of view of the patient. The person is telling you, I'm asking the question, and I am documenting them. So we usually will analyze, observe, and synthesize the core problems. As we move further, we will have the next step. And this usually when I'm talking about defining, so I am doing a simple job as a researcher or as a individual who is a part of that design thinking team, that I'm amplifying the good and I'm eliminating the bad. I am exploring the opposite. I am questioning the assumptions. I am breaking the problem into different pieces. I am taking help of so many people so that we do not left out any part of the problem. I create a point of view of the patients, and I usually use an empathization map in order to get to define this problem. The third step is that of ideation. Without ideation, I don't think any research would go. We think so many different ways. We are some way very patchy about those thought processes. We are very strong about some processes. So we have a huge brain which is working day in, day out, that what to do, what not to do. There will be a judgmental free zone. There will be analysis zone. We'll keep on reformulating. We will keep on redefining the existing solutions and try to find out what could be best. So normally when we are ideating or putting up ideas, we should explore the opposite. We should identify the unexpected resources of problems. We should analyze them, and we should be very positive minded while we will amplify the good and we would eliminate the bad. So normally as we put everything together, we usually will work in a direction like this. There will be a divergent thinking. We'll talk about, we'll just ideate, and we'll finally converge into one thing. thing. Then again, there another group will be start working on it, or another section of people, or another time period we will start working on it, and then there will be again discussions on open-minded discussions, and finally we converge to the solution. So it is, and you can see a peak which is much bigger here, and we can see a peak which is much lesser here. So it's simply helping us to understand that we have gone through a lot of discussions and finally converging it into one formula, one solution which can be of use for the patient. Then the next step is that of point of view. So in this point of view, it usually helps us to ideate and solve your challenge. So we keep the focus narrow, we frame the challenge as a problem statement, and we use them to evaluate competing ideas and make them implementable, make them actionable. Then there are some of the rules I think I have taken care of while I was talking about it. So we will have to keep on using different tools. We will have a relaxed environment. We will talk about more of quantity. So usually in a meeting, when you are having the key opinion leaders like doctors and the researchers on the one end, so the idea is that let the meeting be for 14 hours. Let the meeting be for over next 1 week. So it should be a relaxed environment where every small and big point which can impact the goodness of life of a patient will be threadbare discussed. So we have to be very sure that there are no bad ideas. We have to be very sure that we can simply have group discussions and then individual discussions. So you must be seeing in discussion groups that after the whole big group is sitting, then you will click with someone, and then maybe you will continue discussion over the tea, over the lunch, and maybe for the next 2 days of a conference. So this is the way why these types of ideations rules have to be followed, because this is the only way by which we can reach to the solution which we look forward to. There are certain techniques. I am not an expert in using these techniques, but whatever as a pedagogue and as a teacher I could make sense, I have just listed them here. So we will have various means by which we can bring the idea on the table. So we normally use these words brainstorming. So this is the simplest of the thing, where you get a list of ideas and where the efforts are made so that we can find conclusions for a specific problem. So we call this as brainstorming. The second one is called as your body storming. When we talk of body storming, once the brainstorming has imagined, and but by imagining if the product existed, so you are doing everything in what we call as an thin air. You are just simply ideating a product. You are simply talking about a product which is not existing. So when in the brainstorming, all your creative juices have been stimulated and you are able to think of a product which could be the solution, you will simply make some digital prototype to resemble it with a future product. So this is a very common thing which is happening now, that whatever the product, I will create an animation of that. Okay, I'm imagining a tablet of chronotherapeutic agent which will deliver the drug like this. It will enter into the small intestine where it will break the first part. It will release the first part of the drug. It will move to the next part of the small intestine. It will do this and so forth. So we are trying to give a body shape to that solution or product. And that is why this is called as your body storming. Then we have a very common way of putting our ideas across, and that is sketches. So primarily, these are the most fastest and the most effective way of bringing the ideas of your which your brain generates into the physical world. आपने देखा होगा ज़्यादातर जितने भी fashion designers रहते हैं, before they put their clothing into a particular sort of dress design, they will have a huge sketches, and the selection is done on the basis of these sketches only. So sketching is one of the very hugely appreciated tool which will actually bring your product in some tangible form, and you can discuss more on that. Then after this, we move to a concept of mind mapping. This is again a very interesting thing which should now become a part of normal routine teaching as well. So here the visual ideation that will encourage you to draw a connection between the set of ideas or information. So you will just simply map out that, okay, this is the way the product will look, this is the way it will be stored, this is the way the person will use it, this is the way the doctor will prescribe it, and it is going to be a gamut of so many arrows here and there, and that is why it is called as mind mapping. Then another way is your storyboarding. So what does it mean? Bring situation to life and outline future impact of their solutions. We can develop a visual story which is related to the problem or the solution. So again, I think हम सारे लोगों को बड़ा शौक है कहानी सुनने का और कहानी बनाने का, और हम इस चीज के बहुत फर्म बिलीवर है कि अगर आपको अपनी बात कहीं पहुंचानी है तो वो कहानी बनाना बड़ा जरूरी है. It has to have that storyline. So you should, when I ask my MPharm students or my PhD scholars, I tell them that please let me know that what exactly your design formulation or your idea is going to help me, a patient. Shut your eyes and please imagine where do your microspheres go when you are wanting them to be treating the breast cancer. How do they travel? So you have to have a storyboarding, which can be a visual thing, which can be said in words, and which primarily will be a solution to the problem you have ideated. Then there will be a challenge assumptions. This will is it absolutely breaking the conventional thought patterns and coming up with new ideas. ये सब छोड़िए, let us do something else. So this is what is your challenge assumption. नहीं, ये सारा चीज अभी तक हमने जो डिस्कस किया हमें नहीं लगता कि ये सोल्यूशन का पार्ट बन सकता है, क्यों नहीं हम दोबारा ऐसा कर लें. So when you are challenging your brain and when you are looking forward to solutions which can be better than what you have already thought about, that primarily will be your challenge assumptions. We should not what we call as broom them under the carpet. We should not be not letting them speak about it. So it is very important to have a challenging creative environment where you can assume things and then you can leave them and start afresh with some new ideas. The next important, maybe the penultimate step, is the prototyping. So once you have actually talked about it, thought about it, mapped about it, then you have to create conceptual prototypes of the product to investigate possible solutions. You will investigate different aspects of the problem and explore how each prototype would fix the problem. And in this case, you will definitely get a fair idea that what would be the user's behavior. It will result in a higher satisfaction. The design errors can be corrected at early stages. तो हम कहते हैं कि भाई ये हमारा जो प्रोडक्ट है ये फाइनल नहीं है, हमारा प्रोटोटाइप है, वो इस तरह से एक्ट करेगा. जब आप इस टैबलेट को डालोगे एक पर्टिकुलर डिसोल्यूशन मीडिया में तो the upper layer will break. So can I just show it to you? So you are actually having that prototype in your hand and you are actually showing it. You are able to, and then suddenly that person can observe. भाई आप तो कह रहे थे कि 5 मिनट में डिसइंटीग्रेट होगा, it is taking around 7.5 minutes. So I get to go back to my team and tell them that okay, the disintegration should have happened at 5 hours, otherwise it would pass through the stomach and it might not be available. Just an example, it is not the real thing which might happen, just to keep you stimulated that how this prototyping can be. And it is very, very common in engineers for engineering projects rather. So they primarily make a prototype, then test it, and then the person who will use it for the first time will give its feedback, and then maybe there will be another changes and so forth. You will, as I was just telling you, that we will just then submit it to prototype testing. So there will be a lot of people who will have questions, who will be having their sort of usages. There will be some people who will be the real users, some will be the internal stakeholders, and they will just simply identify the problem, whether that product is of use or not. So sometimes it will get improved, sometimes it will get accepted, and sometimes it will get totally rejected. It बिल्कुल सिंपल एक एग्जांपल हमारे जहन में आ रहा है कि आप किसी भी डेटा को कलेक्ट करने के लिए गूगल फॉर्म बनाते हो. तो आपने बनाया, कोई सर्वे फॉर्म बनाते हो तो आपने बनाया, बनाने के बाद पहले अपने फ्रेंड्स को दिखा लिया, फिर इनको बोला भाई आप इसको भर के भेज दीजिए, उसके बाद में ये बताइए कि इसमें और क्या क्या हो सकता था. देन दे विल से कि नहीं, यू शुड नॉट हैव आस्क्ड फॉर द birth date, women will not be able to fill it, so and so forth. Why are you asking this unnecessary data? Why are you asking the income of the wife as well when you are you only want to know the financial status of the person ABC? So many things can be sort of extrapolated. So the idea is that if I'm having a prototype in hand and I can pass it on physically to the real users and also my inside stakeholders, I will get a real feedback about that how this product is going to be used. So we usually have a sequential steps that we will let the prototype speak. I will not speak as an inventor. We should be very open-minded for criticism. We should be thankful if it is accepted and make sure that the user can experiences it well and then get a feedback. So this is generally applicable to not only pharmaceutical products, applicable to any new thing which you are floating an idea in the department as well. So you have some people will accept it, some people will reject it, some people will put up their points, some will say, please add this question also, do this also, and so forth. So this is a very common way of reaching to decisions in our routine life as well. Here's a quote which primarily will keep you thinking. It says, a human centered approach to innovation that draws from the designer's toolkit to integrate the needs of people, the possibilities of technology, and the requirements for business success. In char lineo mein, they have put every damn thing about design thinking and earning money from it. So, what they simply are putting up that any innovation which you are showing to the world and which has been designed by you, it should first be accepted and integrated by the population which requires it. What are the technical advancements which it will be adding on and what value it will add, and finally it should run my business. Ultimately everything boils down to money. I cannot create anything, I cannot design anything if I know that there are no takers of it. So that's why we have to be very conscious, very conscientiously doing our research, that what therefore जब भी आप एग्जामिनर कोई आता है या वाइवा पीएचडी का लेता है, बड़ा उनका एक बड़ा कॉमन क्वेश्चन रहता है, अरे भाई आपका जो प्रोडक्ट बना तो लिया, इसका कमर्शियल वायबिलिटी क्या है, पेशेंट खरीद पाएगा उसको इतना. So another thing which I would appreciate that we should actually accept and adapt to it is that when we are designing our research projects, we should be very, very shrewd in getting to know that what exactly this project is going to be helping the patients. Number one, whether it will be able to be translated into a tangible product. Number two, and if yes, what would be the affordability of this product. If we are able to test our design thinking or our research project into these three pillars, we will definitely dole out anything which is patentable and everything which is acceptable. So the next big question comes that what is the need for design thinking in the pharma industry? I have been trying to substantiate my discussions with some of the examples from hither thither, but the idea is to make ourselves understand that the concept of design thinking, does it even fit into pharma industry? And if yes, how do we get to know that what exactly this design thinking is in context with pharmaceutical industry? So we know that the pharmaceutical and healthcare, it is a multifaceted, it is a service based. We are having patients in the centers. We need different innovations because we have got so many problems with so many formulations and with so many diseases that we cannot sit still. We have to continuously dynamically get ourselves involved into getting to know the technologies. The production process has to faster, it has to be simpler, it has to be optimized. And we need to look at the concept from a bird's eye view. We'll require faster thinking, the results have to keep in pace with the market demands, and then it has to be justified time period may deliver hona chahiye. So you must have been seeing that there's so many companies like IQVIA or WNS or Pricent. There's so many of them. And they're hiring our students for market research, and they have never been exposed to this market research concept. They never know. They have been exposed to formulation or pharmacology, animal handling or herbal products and whatever. They were never told. I'm very sorry to note it here, we never train our students that about, we don't even talk about it, forget training, that what exactly this concept of market research is. So this whole gamut of companies who are like working in the industry now are not doing the wet labs. They are actually doing a big service to the pharmaceutical big players to getting to collect the data that what exactly is to be sold, which is the market segments which are available to us, and what is the level of the user information which they can supply. And then there is another aspect of the experience, Richard, that how should the product work? What is the workflow? Does a design align with the expectations of the patients, or it is immersion with users, or what is the immersion with users, or how deep it percolates into the user segment? So if we are able to get all this information ahead of our production, you can imagine that we will not rest without creating the best and the best of the product. So now, for example, I can just relate the statistics that unfortunately India is the diabetic capital of the world. So most of the players in the pharma industry are looking forward to this market. So the majority of the companies would be investing their money into what we call as the diabetic drugs or anti-diabetic drugs. So from where do they get an idea? They get an idea because they are following a design thinking process, and getting to know the market through the market research is one of the primary requirement which they are doing. Some of the examples which caught my fancy while I was working on this presentation. So there was this concept of PillPack, which was primarily a subsidiary of Amazon. And what they exactly was, they launched, you can just see that there will be so many of people you can, who are, for example, atorvastatin, fish oil, melatonin, then they are taking a drug metformin. So you can just see from the drug combination that the person could be hyperlipidemic or the person could be diabetic, and you can see that there is a calendaring which is happening of this tablet which the person has to take at what time, at what date. So this is exactly what this pill pack did. They used a simple software platform where the customer's medication was data was filled in, the coordination with the refills was there, and customer was kept into trail using the emails and texts, and the pill pack pharmacist anytime was there to clarify their doubts on what to take, how to take, and so and so forth. So this was an amazing successful project of the subsidiary of Amazon, where they caught the fancy of the patients who are day in day out busy in their work, got an alarm, got an email, got an alert on WhatsApp, and a complete sort of what we call as your change of patient care scenario happened. So when we move to another example is that of patients like me. You must be seeing on your social media and the other sort of interventions or interfaces on the internet and others, that depending on your issue, for example, God forbid, somebody has an autistic child. We know that rearing of an autistic child is such a huge challenge. So there will large number of bodies and NGOs and groups who will come together and who will form a group, and this group will help each other that how you can take care of your autistic child. Maybe a similar thing is needed for the patients. So there will be a huge number of patients which primarily got together. They got themselves registered for research, and can you imagine this simple program resulted in collaboration with so many universities and resulted and contributed around 40 million points of data about that disease. So you are having all the patients of the same disease. They are recognizing and identifying themselves that whether they are suffering from diabetes or whether they are having parenting issues, alternative medicine they want to go, research they want to go, and they just created a humongous data, and which was then used for the projects by the different pharma companies. We had a ready pool of the patients who are ready to impress your product, and the research took a lot of dynamism, and a added impetus was there because you knew the patient's problem, you were talking to them, you were knowing their problem, and simultaneously you were designing your product which will be the answer to their problems. What better way of doing research? I don't think it can go more good than this. Then another company example comes to my mind is that of your Endiamo, which is primarily going in for the 3D type of orthotics for the kids. They will be not still, they will be disabled, the children are not able to move properly, the parents have a very bad time carrying the kids from here and there. So they have designed so many type of processes which can help high mobility for the children with disability. So these are some of the design things, and how this could have happened. Very recently, while I was just perusing through this YouTube, so I got to know of a news snippet where one of the IIT engineer has designed a chair which can move on road, which can go onto elevators, which can maybe go into different positioning and allow the person to be as free as possible. So these are the types of what we call as engagements which is required on the behest of the industry, and then translating them into the products which can be actually adapted very well by the takers or the users. So I will just take you the next few minutes which I'm left with. I will take you to how we can actually put this into action in our own pharmaceutical perspectives. I think design thinking, it has to be used every day. It has to be used from the start of the project to the end of the project and beyond it. So I think the presentation would be a bit longish, so I will try to make it as precise as possible. I must be able to impress upon you that when you will see today's research papers which are published, they are not your routine papers where you what you must have been seeing 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line. Now, the research paper, which is a pharmaceutics paper, will have a pharmacology study, will have a quality assurance data, which will use a n number of Six Sigma techniques and design experts and all, and then finally create a product and then get published. So the point which I'm trying to make here is that the challenge is that how you are able to integrate all these quality tools. So in order to get a product which is highly design guided, which is design of expert guided, or which is using the statistical tools for which the outcome will be something which is highly reliable. I remember my own MPharm days when we used to make hundreds of products, changing excipients at one time, drug concentration at another time, effect of polymer concentration another time, and day in and day out we are doling and doling out formulations out of which only one or two got optimized. Now I have a design of expert with me, quality by design, formulation by design process analytical techniques, which tell me in advance based on softwares that what should be my domain. I just don't have to run hundreds of trials. I will just make 17 preparations if I'm following a box Benton design. And out of that, I know that 3 or 4 will come into that domain of optimized, and I take them further for further characterization. So we have a design of experts which is available. You have to understand what would be the sort of your inputs. The inputs have to be in the form of the process, in the form of the responses, and the output will be in the form of responses. So we normally have so many ways by which I will just not get into the depth of it, because it is another story for another day, because each one of them will require so much of deeper understanding. But these are the terminologies which we usually see in today's research papers, that I used factorial design of 2 level in order to get my optimized formulations. The response surface methodology revealed that the effect of entrapment was less, and the amount of drug the concentration of the polymer impacted it negatively or positively. So we have so many ways by which we can actually now design our formulations. This is a table which has been derived. That's it is not in the last few years. You can have a paper which was in 2009, which has adopted to usage of the factorial design, and herein they were able to identify the independent variables. I think again very important to understand that there will be certain things which we are able to control when we add them into our formulations. For example, if I'm preparing a particle, then I know that I can control the amount of polymer which I am adding, or the surfactant which I am adding, and the outcome will be based on what will be the particle size or the zeta potential of the physical form of that nanosuspension. So I need to identify my independent variables. So I predict everything. I try to put as much as possible information in that software so that I get a pinpointed answer, point prediction, that what would be the best possible formulation in the given scenario. We have now the concepts of quality by design and the formulation by design. I think this is a flow line. If you are teaching an MPharm quality assurance student, then these are some of the parts of their syllabus where one has to be really clear about the flow line. So for any product which I expect will do wonders for the patient, I have to get information which I call as my prior knowledge. I will have to define what exactly I would want in that product, which I called as your quality target product profile, which is actually the summary of all the characteristics which are guaranteed. I will have to identify the critical quality attributes and the critical process parameters. I will have to assess the risk which is involved, because of the lab conditions, because of the vendors, because of the raw material available. Then I put a design to the product. I will risk assess and develop the product, establish a design space, change the polymer concentration here and there, and find out what is affecting. And finally, develop a control strategy. Whatever small changes I need to make, I will control them and do the risk assessment whether these controls were good enough or not, and then result in a continual improvement and finally get my product. So these are some of the tools which are available to us. The algorithms of risk is also available. There are certain rules which are to be followed. How do I identify the risk? How do I analyze, and how do I actually actually pinpointedly say that this cannot be done or this can be done. So these are some of the ways, a simple snapshot. So we usually, when we think of a product, we will think in two terms. Number one, I cannot compromise. We all know by now that the ICH guidelines is actually having four pillars of quality, safety, efficacy, and the miscellaneous effects. So the quality, which is having around 14 guidelines, it goes into so much of depth that if I'm following the ICH guidelines, I cannot have any reason and chance to compromise the product quality. So that is one thing, because if my product quality is good, I can actually deduce that it will be safe to be consumed. There will be so many parameters which I will cover in pre-formulations and intermediate product processes, and find out that what exactly will be the thing in order to have my highest quality product. And सारे के सारे जो selection है, because I'm doing it on a very algorithmic computer based thing, so they will hit the target and I will get a quality target product profile, and I am taking care of the critical quality attributes. Examples are that if I'm making a nano system, I'm talking of the particle size, zeta potential, entrapment. I understand what factors will result in their variability. I change them. I know what are the critical material attributes, what are the critical process parameters, and finally I end up with a finished product which is of highest quality and is definitely safe and efficacious for the consumer. So this is a thought process which is to be borne in mind when primarily I have to. Sir, I was in the midst of a very important meeting. I'll get back to you in a few minutes. So as we move further, we have another stemming out, which is called as your formulation by design. Most of you must have heard of all these parameters, how we can have a response surface designs, what can be the screening designs, depending on the requirement, we'll adapt one of them. Set of examples which primarily are absolutely available in your literature. I just collated them and put them in a table, that how this FBD design and all can be very well adopted for the novel drug delivery systems like your osmotic pump or nanocapsule or many, many more types. We have another concept of process analytical technology. Until and unless I'm able to have a mechanism to design, analyze, and control pharmaceutical manufacturing processes through actual critical process parameters control and critical quality attributes, I will not be able to give you the exact quantification of the product. So I have to be very clear about the process analytical technology which can be adopted. So there are many, many more parameters which are to be discussed, which will help us to understand the PAT. Just in a snapshot, we primarily, when we talk of the process analytical techniques, it will take care of the industrial pharmaceutical engineering part. It will be dwelling into the process analytical chemistry. It will be dealing deeply with the manufacturing science. And of course, nobody can leave this regulatory reforms apart. So that is primarily how this PAT will help me to get a quality product. So there will be various steps. You can just see that the strategy has to be there, and just see that how much of the area is to be covered by the analytical technology. Then so many processes which are available, and this can be sort of what we call as put forward as an approach for achieving a process understanding. Then we will just talk a little bit about, I think we are left with a 7 to 8 minutes. I'll try to wrap it because we started around 5 minutes late. So please allow me a couple of more minutes. Can I do that? Can I just continue beyond one for a little while?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So we'll now talk in this section something which we have been doing. So we are talking about innovations and how these innovations can help us. The story begins usually when we talk of the drug discovery, clinical regulatory. It is a huge cycle of time and money spending and sort of lot of hurdles, and then we get that one product. So usually in the earlier times, we were only talking about this drug pipeline and only looking forward to one product, but we never thought, we just made a product, threw it into the market. It was used by the patient. There were a gamut of side effects. We were not concerned what is the problem the patient is facing. We have to come out of that cycle. We have to go in for another way, wherein primarily we have to go in another arduous, difficult journey, where I will take care of every data which is generated and not leave it at this stage of launch, but rather take it further, where I will keep on talking with the patients, engaging them, having empathy to them, asking them their problems, helping them to stick to their their regular dosage regimen, looking forward to what they want, the change. If there is a particular disease, how I can create my this drug which is being registered into a novel drug delivery system. So this design thinking has opened up as a huge avenue of creating new and novel drug delivery systems in the rightest sense. And we know that this is going to be a tough test, so we will have to look into this part where the development has happened, the drug is now in the market, but we will keep on getting to know the various commercial avenues and keep on bringing back the same drug in a different mantle, changing the formulation design, making a drug into chronotherapy, trying converting an oral formulation into a transdermal patch because a patient cannot take 5 times a drug orally, resulting in so much of hepatic metabolism and so on and so forth. So the more I know my drug, the more I know my product, the more I talk to my patients, it will help me keep this product line and this sort of process of development on and on for longish and longish period of time. So these some of the snippets which will be very mesmerizing to know. I was indeed as a student always mesmerized when we talked about these novel drug delivery systems. So here was a case of a patient. There was this morphine lollipops which were used as a breakthrough technology to cover upcoming cancer pain. We know that the terminal cancer pain is too difficult. The tongue and the cheek and all the mouth is full of your ulcers because of the chemotherapy and the radiation therapy, and the pain is unbearable. What better way of creating a lollipop wherein primarily you have doped in with the morphine, and it is a centrally active sort of your pain this pain reduction agent, and you are able to help that. So companies like Elan, Cephalon, Inkind, Alpharma, J&J, they came out with these types of transmural drug delivery system. Transdermal is now an old story, but imagine if you were not having this type of drug delivery system. Everything, a diabetic patient taking 3 tablets of different varieties, and then he needs another for some other disease. Imagine that as the diabetic drug is being converted into a transdermal patch, the dose has been reduced, the first pass hepatic metabolism has been taken care of, and the patient is so relieved because he is not going to have a bad mouth, is not going to have bloating stomach because of the large quantities of the drug which he was taking. So that is what exactly the design thinking talks about, that take up the responsibility of understanding the patient and then dole out the products which can be of help to them. Subcutaneous implants, that imagine a woman taking a contraceptive tablet day in and day out. We know that there's a huge problem of what we call as drug interaction orally. So the person is taking an oral contraceptive, some other drugs are there, they will have primarily interactions because of the same sort of metabolic pathway. The cytochrome P450 can be stimulated or they can be inhibited, and the whole gamut of metabolism gets disturbed. So can we do something to avoid it so that the oral drug interaction is circumvented? So can we go in for a subcutaneous plant? And then this was this the success story of the contraceptive NOR plant. Microcapsules. Why unnecessarily I will be taking a tablet which is going to be broken and then thrown out because of the peristalsis? Why can't I have something which will stay in the stomach as small molecules or small micron size spherical things, and it will keep on distributing well over a large surface area, and I will get a better bioavailability. So the tablet which I was taking thrice a day is now not needed, and I need only one capsule full of these colorful microspheres, which will have a timed spatio-temporal release of the drug and help the patient come out with happy face. So then a lot of drugs devising is happening on the chronotherapeutic base. I think we have the concept clear in our head that there will be diseases which we know will attack early morning, like the asthma, like the rheumatic arthritis. The woman who wants to pray early morning, 5 o'clock, is not able to put the foot on the ground because the tendency of the disease is so that the most difficult period is the time when the person wakes up early morning. Heart attacks early morning between 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Can we not design a drug delivery system which is primarily attuned with the circadian rhythm, and it is giving me the outcomes that the release happens only at 4 a.m. and the drug remains there at a high concentration, and the person is not suffering from the outcomes of that disease? Similarly, I can go ahead with site-specific delivery at the stomach, at the proximal intestine, distal intestine, and the colon. If the cancer is in the colon, why should unnecessarily I put the drug in the stomach and unnecessarily lose it while it goes to the colon? Why not make a coated tablet or a coated capsule, which will be so designed that it will only open up in the colon. And using this thing, so and I was like thinking this way for the last so many years, but can we make it a little more easier for us as researchers if we can engage the patients and get to know the disease better, engage with the doctors, the key opinion leaders, and then create better and better system. This is a very interesting thing which primarily I really really appreciate the efforts which must be going into these types of drug delivery systems. So you are putting something which is to be needed to treat this solid tumor. So you just put it through the IV route, it goes there, and finally, after some time, it gets collected here. So this is closer to what Magic Bullet is all about. That we are only, although it traverses through the whole blood circulation system, but it reaches to the tumor where I can apply a magnetic field from outside, and all the drug particles get concentrated in the solid tumor. So that's exactly how it works, and how I don't think it can be better tuned than getting a system of anti-cancer drugs directly loading or directly reaching to the site of action. So many off-site effects will be taken care of. The patient will not have side effects from hither thither. You can just appreciate this, how well it works. This is some of the works which we are doing in our own lab, and we have taken care of the design concepts. I'll just take you through the couple of slides here which were focused on the use of some African potato, because my student who was the first worker belonged to this continent and a country. And then we could get the conversation with the local people who were using these drugs. And we came out to know that this is one drug which can be exploited for the treatment of cancer. So then we used all these statistical tools, and then we delivered the formulation in the form of an ethosome. Similarly, other formulations, we had another list of formulations where we talked about. This is another area where we are actually gone a little step further. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes for the azan. I think by now this diagram can help you understand what we are looking forward to.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
So I would just take you through this particular slide where we had actually thought very deeply before we created our approach of treating an infection using a 3M approach. We thought about creating a system which would lead to treatment of candidal vulvovaginitis, and then primarily look forward to what are the patient-centric. We even visited the doctors in the campus hospital and found out from the women what problems they were facing. We created a survey on that, found out from them that what was actually stopping them from using an antifungal ointment which is available in the market. And a lot of problems were related to us, that it is very difficult to use, and then insertion is a very big problem, and then frequently using while you're on work, then an anatomic position of the vagina doesn't allow the retention of that ointment into the cavity, and so many other things which I am not able to relate at this point of time. So we got that survey, we talked to the gynecologist, had a meeting with them, and then finally proposed a system which was having a three-pronged approach where we created a multi-particulate, mucoadherent, modified release particulate system which would be given in a bioadhesive gel and which can be inserted early morning and will take care of what we call as your next 24 hours of the drug delivery time. The mechanism was based on our understanding of the biofilm which the fungi can make into the cavity and how it was hampering the delivery of the drug. So all these things we put together, and I consider now when I was preparing this presentation, so I was actually enthused that this exactly is nothing but the design thinking. We had been using it long, but we had not been propagating it that way. But now when we understand the concept well, we can actually now talk about it, that how well this design thinking can be put into the research which is doing in the pharmaceutical sectors. So some of the snippets of the papers, I don't think we have the time to go into the details of it. We used all these tools for getting that system of SLNs, which was then converted into a gel. We talked about the PDI entrapment and the inferences were drawn, and finally we proposed the formulation. So we were able to have this publication which suggested to be a formulation based directed fabrication for the treatment of your disease. This is available in public domain. Then we had another paper which we have sort of talked about the concept of the anti-biofilm, which was accepted in a record a few days. And that's exactly the concept which primarily should be now used by all researchers, that understand the problem well from the perspective of the patient, take into account what can be done statistically and various available quality tools, and then design a product which is finished product and can be used fruitfully by the patients. So the same thing we extrapolated for the wound studies. The other area which we are working on, the periodontal infections. So we have been first doing the research on what is the sort of burden of this disease. Then we created the premise of the problem, found out what are the complications and how they can be overcome, then talked about the disease pathogenesis, had a word with the dentist, along took him onto the panel for our supervisors. He is one of the co-investigator of our student. And then how the pathogenesis can be done, why simply taking the antibiotic is not helping us, because there's another problem of inflammation and bone resorption is there. So how we can actually make some drug delivery system which can take care of all these problems. So we summarize the challenges. We wanted what is a prerequisite of this particular formulation, what will be good, because nobody would like to visit a dentist. एक साल में एक बार ही चले जाते हो तो बहुत बड़ी बात है. So we had to make a system which is acceptable by the people, and then it is giving the outcome. So the cornerstone of the treatment was decided, that how we can actually put the drug delivery system into the cavity, and that will be there for months together, releasing the drug. So we were able to create this research snapshot based on our design thinking, that we talked about the disease, we talked about the symptoms, we talked about the treatment strategies, proposed our formulation, made a prototype, showed it, discussed it, characterized it, and then we submitted for in vivo studies and looking forward for the clinical trials now. So these are some of the publications which we were able to get from this concept. Another publication on the same concept where we had not the multiparticulate but the gingiva disc. We are still working on another work. This three papers, one after the other, we could get published, and we use the same premise of the design thinking. The biofilm disruption, as I told you, was another area which we took up. This is a very interesting study where we first created what we did. We first got the clinical samples from the patients who were visiting our OPDs in the hospital, and then found out which microorganism was present there. Based on that microorganism, the biofilm which it was making, we created a drug delivery system which was bang on working on that particular bacteria. So we got a patent also out of it within a record period of around 320 days, and we also got it published in a very, very reputed journal. So this is some of the work which we are working, and we are already using this design thinking concept. But then primarily when I related to this presentation, so I was very happy that yes, we are already working on these lines, but we need to just refine by using some of the other tools which are available to us. Thank you so much for a very, very patient listening. I was a little, because unfortunately there was a little issue of the internet, so I had to change spaces. That is why little sort of delay was there in the beginning. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. for such a wonderful opportunity. And it really helped me to bring up my own understanding and make it much, much better in this arena of design thinking. Thanks a lot. This is all from my end. I'll be very happy to take up some questions if that is required. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for enlightening us about what are the major skills involved in the empathy, different techniques used to define problems, and discuss about the rules of ideation and different key ideation techniques like brainstorming, body storming, and mapping, etc. What is the need for the design thinking in pharma industry? Thank you so much, ma'am, for enlightening us about these topics. And participants have posted some questions in the chat box. So we have some queries. So shall I ask the questions?
I'll be very happy to answer them. I don't know, there's some issue at my end. Now, my voice is audible? It is, I think.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, fine.
One question is from the side of Nidhi Sharma. How to apply design thinking to product management?
Okay. So I think product management and life cycle management is a domain of the regulatory bodies. Again, as I said in the beginning, you must have noticed one of the quotes which I had written there, that design thinking is a routine thing. We have to start think about it when we conceive the project till the project ends and beyond it. So when we talk of the product management, we will have to ensure that how this life cycle of that product can be management, how it can be elongated, what type of the people who are. I'll give you one example here. So if you are had launched a product for a particular one indication, and suddenly you realize that based on the data which was like generated in some other country, this product can also be used for some other indication. So you can take that data, you can submit that to the regulatory agency and maybe help in a better product management. These are the key, because being teachers and like more into academics, we are not very conversant with this management terminologies. But if this design thinking concept is sort of pasted and sort of interfaced with management, I think there will be many more algorithmic flow lines. So we are like more restricted. So I don't think I'll be able to speak much on this because this becomes a domain of a management person.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Second question is from the Kavita Rana. Why design thinking is vital in product packaging?
Why design thinking is
Vital in product
yes.
packaging.
You have a small kid of around 5 years of age and you have to give him calcium tablets, or you have to give him paracetamol because of the weather and because of the fever. Ask a mother who has to handle a 5-year kid. You have a routine containers. They will see it from distance, half a kilometer, that now this bottle of medicine is there and she is going to catch me. Convert this container into a beautiful toy. Convert this container into a teddy bear type of container where your capsules or your calcium tablets are put in, and add the flavor of chocolate to it, and then see how this wonderful packaging will help your product to be used by your own child. So packaging, in design thinking in packaging, how easily it is used for old people. Imagine that you are having a container where the old people who are Parkinson are going to struggle with it. You will have to design certain packages which will help even a Parkinsonian patient to be easily used. So I don't think design thinking is not having a role in packaging. It is definitely, I agree, has a very vital role in packaging. A huge industry of packaging. I think after BPharm, there is this course which is available, postgraduate diploma in packaging, wherein primarily you can be enrolling yourself and then learn the tactics of the trade.
Participants can unmute yourself for asking the questions.
They can.
You are
I'll be very happy. I'll be very happy.
Before participants can ask, can I say something?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am, first of all, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you so much.
And such a wonderful session we have today. And you just related to our core theme of design thinking, patient-centric approach. So
You know,
I know.
I must confess here that when I actually started working on it a few days back, I was a little upset that what a pharmaceutical scientist will say in this, because when you are Googling this title, most of the things are patient centric and all. But then I sat down, I talked to myself, and I had a small group and I talked to my students, my researchers. So we were able to put it together. And now I believe that if you ask me to give another presentation, this would be a level ahead, because now the concept is very clear. And it is, I must really thank you that you gave me this challenging opportunity. And I personally love challenges. So I really was very sort of happy while I was preparing for this presentation. Although this took a lot of time, but nonetheless, it
Yeah,
was a
I
beautiful
can.
learning experience.
I can see how much efforts you have put on. Really, you have worked with your heart. That's what we
That's
need
it.
to have for our
I know.
students and
I
as well
know.
as
I
for
know.
our patients. Yeah. So
That,
that was really nice and
thank you
really
so much.
commendable job which you as well as your students did together.
Thank you
That
so much.
what we need to have everywhere. Yeah. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much,
much.
ma'am.
Thank you
Thanks
so
a
much.
lot.
Thanks a lot.
And one thing more I will like to add on, if someone can think it of that we must add that kind of market research which you were talking about, that we must need to add in our students project. If they are doing any kind of projects, we must add that thing in the starting, that they must,
Absolutely.
yeah, contact with the doctors as well as patients too, to
You know,
understand their
this really helps a lot. It is a big help to us as researchers, because you already get a go ahead from the doctors who are actually going to use your products. But हम लोग की क्या कमी है, अगर हम ये बताएं कि हम लोग अपने products के अपने research को उतनी मान्यता देते ही नहीं है. हम एक academic research कर लेते हैं, एक publication आ जाती है, तो चलो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह बहुत हो गया. बट अगर हम उसको उस तरह से सोचें कि हमारा प्रोडक्ट जो हम बना रहे हैं, जिसके लिए हम 5 साल लगा रहे हैं, 3 साल लगा रहे हैं रिसर्च लैब में, और जो टीचर कैंडिडेट्स कर रहे हैं, तो उनके लिए कितना मुश्किल काम है कि एवरी टाइम दे आर रनिंग टू द लैब्स, कमिंग टू द क्लासेस. सो इफ वी डू अ ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग right in the beginning, I think it will add wonders, and the product can also become commercially viable. I'm very happy to share that we could get a patent out of this work which I shared at the end, within a stipulated period of 320 days, less than a year.
Congratulations, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
My pleasure. And I must put on record the efforts of my PhD scholars, Miss Pooja, then Miss Manvi, and then Parnika and Shivani, and my other student Bhavna, who pitched in to help me with this presentation. So I must acknowledge their efforts, and I have a beautiful team, and most of my students by default are women. I have not chosen them, but they have come to me, and it's a wonderful team, wonderful students team which I have. I have my colleague Dr. Amir Mirza, who is supporting us greatly. So we have got a huge team and a nice team. We have Dr. Ms. Uzma, Ms. Shraddhanjali. So I am afraid I must not forget anybody. Anyways.
Blessed. We are also blessed to have you, ma'am, here for the session and
Thank you so
guiding
much.
us for this thing that we must work as a team.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Abhijit, would you like to say something?
Yes, ma'am. It was a great time to learn from ma'am because, ma'am, in our last FDP also, she has given a detailed lecture on our cancer genomics. Ma'am, we are really happy, and
Thank you.
and ma'am, we are from our country's top pharma institution, that is Jamia Hamdard.
That's
So,
that's a blessing.
yes, ma'am, and we are so
You
happy to
have
learn.
you have one of our alumni, Salahuddin, one of a very
Yes,
good
Yes, we
alumnus
have.
of ours.
yes,
We have really blessed.
and we will be so happy to listen you in our next year and in
Yeah,
episode.
Hopefully,
we,
surely,
we love
surely.
to have.
It was a pleasure. So if there are no more questions, I may take your leave. We have already surpassed the time. Thank you so much for being so
Thank you
patient
so
and good
much.
audience.
Thank you
Thanks a
so
lot.
much.
Thanks, Dr. Veena, for doing the honors. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And
Thank you.
thanks a lot.
Now the time for the lunch. We all gathered here at 2:30 p.m. for today's third scientific session, which will be delivered by most known personality of the IT sector, Mr. Amit Saxena, Senior Industry Head Advisor and Head TCS Genomics and Smart Lab. Thank you.